Football fans, welcome into the Impact Media presents NFL playoffs shindig extravaganza. Insert your favorite word here, as long as it's pet friendly. Pet friendly words only on this show. Joined, I'm
On this
Jeremy, the
one.
Impact York. Exactly. I am joined, of course, by my good buddy Daniel Snyder. How are you, Daniel?
Um, I'm after the game, after that first half of this previous week's game. I was missing because I was out looking for our defense, and then but now I'm great. I'm good. I'm good. I'm excited. We'll get to that when we get to it, but I'm good. Every day above ground is good for me. You know that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The good thing about that is I was talking to this guy, and we did find your defense, and I went to go find him so that he could keep doing what he's doing here. What was it? Kyle, I can't say that. Pet friendly words only. We got to keep those there. But
Remember, only words
but
we
yeah,
we call
apparently this is
pets.
apparently this is where they were. As my amazing producer is having fun with my backgrounds now. But yeah, you found the defense in just in time to man, you guys actually had the better game. I like the first game, and we're going to start with the first game. But man, that NFC, there's a reason why it was the primetime spot. It was the better game.
Yeah, yeah. It was scarier for yeah. It was scary for me. I counted this out, but we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it.
Exactly. And for people who don't know, I am already in Vegas, clearly getting ready for the Super Bowl because we're not going to talk about the game that's coming on this week. We might watch it, but I doubt you
Yeah,
hear those two words together on this show.
yeah.
Let's start with Chiefs Ravens. We know it was 17-10, but to me, this was Baltimore trying to show that they can hang and they can be one of those top AFC teams. And I do think they're probably top three, top four. They're one of those better teams that they're gonna be around for a while because they have the talent. But the phrase that pays on this show, the Undertaker at WrestleMania, and that wasn't Brock Lesnar on the other side.
That was not. That might have been Roman Reigns the first time he played him. First time he
Yeah.
faced the Undertaker. He lost. Um, Maybe next year or the year after, if Lamar and the Ravens get in there, face the Undertaker, that they might be able to defeat him this time. But it wasn't for the taking on this one.
Nope.
Um,
It definitely wasn't.
and this is my opinion from watching the game was I feel like the pre-press from what I seen on it, Lamar Jackson was hyping Mahomes up, talking about he's the greatest, he's the one they're chasing. And I understand you want to give respect to your opponent, but um, for those of y'all that are hip hop fans, back a
And
couple
who's
years
not?
ago, MGK did a diss the Eminem, and in that diss, he called Eminem the GOAT, the greatest. And I'm like, like Eminem said it best in his comeback. He said, "Is this a diss or this a love note?" When you're talking about your opponent, yeah, you're good. I'm better. That's what you. And I feel like the MVP talk got in Lamar's head. People
Mhm.
saying that he's a running quarterback got in his head, and he tried to be a passing quarterback. Lamar wins games running the ball. Yes, he is a good quarterback, but he is a mobile quarterback for a reason. And he's a mobile quarterback for a reason because I don't know about you, but everything I heard, people were saying Lamar didn't play his game. Lamar didn't play his game. That's what I heard everywhere. And Lamar ran for 54 yards. If a quarterback runs for 54 yards and they say you didn't play your game, you're a running quarterback, my friend.
Yep.
Um, Andrews was back in that game. Everybody was hyping that up. He had two
Yep.
catches for 15 yards. They shut the Chiefs defense shut Andrews and they shut Likely down. Combined, they were four receptions for 31 yards. The
Wow.
only person that, yeah, exactly. The only person that did anything on the Ravens defense was Flowers. He was 5 for 115 for the only touchdown. Um, the
Yeah.
Chiefs the Chiefs scored 17 points in the first half, and then they forgot there was two halves to a game. I will say this: if you go into the game, into the Super Bowl against the 49ers and you forget that there is a second half, you will get demolished because that's where we find out there is a game. We forget about the first half, but we're there for when it counts at the second half. But Mahomes, 30 for 39. Did it seem like he threw the ball 40 times to you?
No, I thought he threw it about 15.
I was, and he only threw for 241 yards, and he ran for 15.
You
Was
talk
it
about somebody
Pat
off their game. I mean, outside of the completions, that doesn't sound like a Mahomes day.
at all? And Pacheco, is that his name? The running back, Pacheco.
Pacheco. Pacheco.
Pacheco. Okay, he was 24 attempts for 68 yards. He had a touchdown. Of course, Kelsey was the only guy. I mean, Kelsey and Rice. Between he had Mahomes had 30 completed pass. Kelsey had
Mm-hmm.
11 of them. Rice had 8 of them. Kelsey had 116 yards and a touchdown. Rice had 46 yards, no touchdown.
Yep. Which
It's a
Kelsey is all about that yak. It's that yards after catch where Rice, he was getting thrown open, but they were on top of him. Kelsey was just dragging people with him.
yeah. He was Kelsey averaged 11 yards a carry. I mean, 11 yards a catch, I guess.
I mean, you could say the easiest way to describe Travis Kelsey's game is he was very swift.
Yeah, yeah. And see, looking at this once again, I mean, as we all know, 49ers beat the Lions. We'll get to that. But I'm trying to compare the stats of the Chiefs to the stats of the Lions.
Okay.
Jared is not Mahomes, not Mahomes at all.
No.
Laporta could be a younger version of Kelsey. He could. Laporta
Okay.
has had a great season,
Mm-hmm.
and that two-headed beast Montgomery and Gibbs in Detroit, that is better than Paleco, whatever his name is, Pacheco.
Mm-hmm.
That's a better running game. Detroit had a better running
Oh, sure.
game. And wide receiver wise, I think Williams and St. Brown are better than Rice and whoever their second receiver is. That's not a tight end.
Zay probably.
Don't
Zay
know.
Flowers.
But
That'd be my
is
guess.
he?
They
I
want
thought
him to be the
no. I
next
thought
big guy.
no. Zay Flowers is in Baltimore. I'm
Oh,
talking about
yeah. Um, I forgot his name. It's
which is
yeah,
exactly that.
that's the point. That's the point. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like the defense is going against a better quarterback, a better tight end, but the rest,
Yeah.
the wide receiver and running back aren't on the level of the Lions, nor the offensive line.
Right. Well,
But
and we gotta give credit to this Chiefs defense. I mean, yeah, we say how much the opposing offense was off their game, but it had a lot to do with the Chiefs defense that this might be the best defense I've seen Andy Reid have since he's been in Kansas City. I mean, they had 4 sacks. They were
yeah,
constantly chasing everybody around to where, I mean, that's why Lamar couldn't really get on his game was he constantly had 300-pound linemen chasing him all over the place.
how is Baltimore's offensive line?
Let's say they're above average. They might be top 10. They're pretty good. I mean, because they can run the ball. Usually Lamar doesn't have to dance around or extend plays a whole lot the way Mahomes normally does. But I
But
mean,
why didn't I mean? But how good are they really? I'm thinking about it. Who's the running back for the Ravens? There you go. See how it's Edwards. But
yeah,
see, but that's what I'm saying. If your offensive line is good, you're going to know who the guy is that's running behind it.
right.
That's how I feel like. Yeah, I feel like and that's why this gets me back to the light might have been the spotlight might have been too big for Lamar. All the MVP talk might have been too much for Lamar, and that you have to get past the Undertaker might have been too much for Lamar.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, because at
so
some point you can't keep viewing them as the top of the mountain. You have to say, no, they're my peer, and I'm going to take on my
yes,
peer. And until
yes,
because if not, you could build such a complex to where the bar keeps going up and you keep slinking down, and you're just never going to reach the top of the mountain if you keep thinking that it's the be all end all.
Do you think that might have been Philip Rivers looking at Manning and Brady?
Yeah, I think it very much could be that. I think at times Brett Favre had that problem. I think at times there's a couple other bigger quarterbacks like that that just it seemed like they were like, man, I know I'm good, but he's better. I want to be him. It's like it's fine that you want to be, as good or better than the guy across from you, but you can't keep thinking that he's your idol, or you get starstruck, and
Yes, yes,
that might kind of been what happened.
yeah, and I mean, um, but like we had said, going into halftime, it was 17-7. KC was
Yeah,
up. The score ended 17-10. KC didn't score anymore, and Ravens only scored 3 points.
yeah,
Tip your cap to both defenses.
yeah,
So
absolutely. Just I mean, a complete shutdown in the second half.
almost boring.
It was getting there. There was a few things that kind of were some bright spots, but yeah, for the most part, it allowed me to be able to do a lot of things around the house. I kept watching the game, but all those commercial breaks kept giving me time to get a lot of stuff done.
And there was two fumbles by the Ravens and an interception.
Mhm.
Um, I think after Flowers fumbled on that 1 yard line, he went over to the sideline and he slammed his hand on the bench and he cut his hand. And they had to stitch him up and whatnot because he had a laceration. That is a rookie acting like a rookie.
Well, that's a diva receiver all the way around. He is absolutely one, and I'm surprised that Baltimore has one of those. Normally, you see those in Pittsburgh.
Well,
Normally, you see those in Dallas, or you see them places like that. You don't, you know, you guys had Terrell Owens for a while, but he didn't last very long in San Francisco
watch your
because
mouth.
that's not the culture.
Watch your mouth.
Terrell
Watch your
Owens is one of
mouth.
my favorite
Don't
players,
don't yeah, I said don't talk about my favorite wide receiver of all time.
but he's real close to being mine. I would say that. But yeah, I mean, it's the thing is that's one of the unfortunate parts of a diva receiver is a lot of times they wear out their welcome. I would say that Jim Harbaugh, as much as I'm a big Michigan homer, Jim Harbaugh kind of wears out his welcome places. This was one of the first times where he chose to leave before they opened the door for him.
And I think he's gonna be a beast in San Diego.
We're going to get the Harbaugh Bowl at least once a year.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you think they'll both be in the playoffs every year?
Pretty close to it.
All right, that's interesting.
I mean,
But
since I'm in Vegas, I'm gonna walk down the street to a casino, maybe put some money on that. That I'd be willing to bet they're both in the playoffs this year, this coming up year.
he's got a good quarterback over there. He'll build around that team. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was a decent game, but to me the Super Bowl was the next game.
Yeah, yeah,
But
I
that's
think it
just
has a
me.
lot to do with it because I mean it's like I said, we'll talk a little Super Bowl tonight, but for the most part that'll be
Yeah.
next week, as we said.
Yes.
But I mean, yeah, moving into this game, I know you had to sweat it out. I was sweating it out a little bit here, I didn't even care about being right because I was completely 0-2 last week, but that I was not concerned with that because I felt that the 49ers were the better team. I felt that they were just finding ways to stop Detroit, even though the score doesn't really show you that. But I had some feeling. I was like somewhere right towards the end of the game, you're going to see that stop from San Francisco just to go, look, that's cute, but Cinderella, your slipper just broke. I need you to get out of my building.
And it almost seemed like Purdy was the one that picked up the Cinderella and broke it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that first half, um, 4 plays and they scored. We get the ball and we have to punt it. No, we didn't have to punt it. We tried to kick a field goal and we missed it.
Yep.
They get the ball again and they score again. At that point, I'm looking, it's 14-0. They've scored on us quick. We're not stopping anything. We're not tackling. And Chase Young is not a guy that I want us bringing back. He can go on about his business after this season. We'll get you a ring. Go enjoy the rest of your career someplace else.
Go back to Washington.
For all I care, yeah, go play with who was
Dan
that
Quinn.
Washington guy? Dan Quinn. Yeah, good luck with that one. So
Yeah.
they belong together. Um, so then we score a touchdown
Mm-hmm.
and they get the ball and go down the field again like it ain't like there's nothing stopping them and score
Yeah.
again. And and that's when Purdy throws an interception on if you're watching the game, it wasn't a bad pass. It was he was hit when throwing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it was still a bad pass because there was two defenders there. Um, but that's what I like about Purdy. Brock Favre is what I'm gonna call him. Um, he
Brett Purdy.
yeah, Brett Purdy. He'll throw it. He'll throw it. I mean, this is my quarterback. Um, they got the ball again and they drove down the field. And right there at the end, instead of going for it, they decided to kick a field goal. The Lions did.
Mm-hmm.
And they went into halftime 24-7. At that time, me and a buddy of mine were messaging back and forth. He too was a 49er fan. And I'm like, dude, we're done. That's exactly how I felt. Now, if you go on YouTube and watch some of the mics, you will see Kittle about halfway into the actually right at the first after the first half. After the first quarter, somewhere in the second quarter, he says, "Man, it's going to be great at the end of this game when I'm able to tell everybody they had us in the first half. They had us in the first half." Like Kittle was saying, he told it to about 5 or 6 different people on the team.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to tell them that they had us in the first half. Kittle never wavered. I don't think anybody ever wavered down. I think they wasn't nobody feeling bad for themselves.
Nope.
And they said that in the locker room, um, that there was no hooping and hollering, there was no yelling at each other. Boza said, "Guys, we got to get in places. We got to tackle. We got to get our hands on them." And it's just a couple players spoke up, which that's what I like to hear. I like that there wasn't no him going in there slamming stuff, which means they're a focused team that doesn't just get crazy. Now, but I like I said, I counted us out, and I told my buddy we have to come out and score a touchdown. We got the ball, we got to come out and score a touchdown. We came out, kicked a field goal. I said that's not what we needed. Um, but then they fumbled. We got the fumble, scored a touchdown. They went for it on fourth down. We stopped them on fourth down, which they could have kicked a field goal, but that's how Dan Campbell has played the whole is Dan Campbell, right?
Yep.
That's how he's played the whole year. Let's talk on that. I'm gonna stop this because everybody watched the thing because I don't want to sit here and break it down. What did you think about Campbell going for it on both those fourth downs? Now, both of them would have been 40 plus yard field
Mm-hmm.
goals. So what was your take on
Who
that?
is, who is his kicker? Forgot who it is now. It is. Come on. His kicker.
I'm not sure, but from what they said, that
Oh, Badgley. Okay, Badgley's not bad. He can hit that. He's been in a couple places before. Dan Campbell's mentality is to go for it. I think if he's not the top, he's probably in the top two or top three of they almost. I mean, I honestly don't know why they have a kicker because he doesn't get a lot of work. Dan normally likes to go for it. He likes to push it. He likes to say, actually the percentages.
20 for
Because John
25.
Harbaugh talks about this too. Yeah, the percentages are pretty high that you get them on the short yardage ones, and I think he just felt in those situations that if he didn't go for it, that there's a chance they could lose hold of the game. They needed to try to stay in it, and when it come up short, especially after the second time, I think that's when he said, you know what, we may not have any more clubs in the bag. We may just have to play the rest of the round with the one in our hand, and it just wasn't enough.
My take on it is for with the kicker, um, his percentage from the 40 on, I think it's 75%.
It's not bad.
And they said that he hadn't kicked a 40 plus field goal outside of a dome because remember Detroit plays in a dome outside
Mm-hmm.
of a dome in I think it was like 8 or 9 weeks and outside of the dome he's not that great they said I think he's like a 60% or lower but he was 20 for 25 going for it on fourth down. Now why they passed on both of those fourth downs instead of rushing, I don't know. I would look
Yeah.
at my offensive coordinator and be like, what are you doing? Because we couldn't stop the run. Now they stopped running completely in the second half, which I didn't understand that as well. Because one thing that they did say is, you know what, maybe that fumble scared the offensive coordinator. But one thing that everybody said is that with the lead or not or trailing, they will run the ball. They will run the ball. And Goff threw the ball 41 times.
Yeah.
Um, he had one touchdown. Russian Montgomery was 15 for 93 with a touchdown. Gibbs was 12 for 45 with a touchdown. Williams was 1 for 42 with a touchdown. Receiving wise, their tight end had 9 receptions for 97 yards. St. Brown, 7 receptions for 87 yards. Um, Williams had 2 for 25 yards and a touchdown.
Yep.
So, I mean, it was all nice and Purdy, but it wasn't Brock Purdy, who
Well,
in the second
think of it
half,
this way too: is when you read off those stats, this sounds like a run first team, and yet, like you said, in the second half, when they needed to run the ball, either they can't or they just didn't try for some reason. But this is not a shot at your current head coach, but we've seen before where in certain moments when you think
Shanahan
somebody's
doesn't
supposed to
you
run, they start passing.
that is a shot at Shanahan. That's the only thing that scares me when it comes to him is he
I got
doesn't
to
know to
defend
run the
Falcon
clock
fans. I
down.
took a shot at them last week. Remember?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But hey, man, I wasn't a fan of getting him. I'm gonna be honest with you. If he brings me a Super Bowl, I'll get off his back. But as of right now, we should have won in 2020. We didn't win, and that's what made COVID happen. Um, that's messed up. So,
I mean, that's about as plausible as everything we were told about that. So I mean, that works.
right. Uh, Brock Purdy was 13 for 16 in the second half, 174 yards. And it said the stat line says 48 or 49 rushing yards, but let's add that 3 yards back on top for that last one where he downed the ball. He had 51 rushing yards. Um, all of his rushing yards were first downs. He legit did what I thought Lamar would do.
Yeah,
And did you see him running the ball? Did you watch it?
yeah. I watched both games.
Did
Yeah,
you
and it's
does he
I
does he look like a 4.8440?
no when he gets run. I guess if somebody's chasing me, I usually run a little faster too. So I mean, he had some jets. He was pulling away from some of those guys.
Yeah, and I was looking at some of the stats. I guess the combine numbers. Lamar is runs a 40 and 4.34. He looks like he runs that. Purdy was 4.84. Mahomes 4.8. I would almost say Purdy looks faster than Mahomes.
He probably is.
Um, but I
If you line
mean,
them up, probably.
yeah, it puts have somebody chasing him because Mahomes is going to think about throwing the ball even when he don't have to. We're going to tell him, all right, Mahomes, you're doing run a 40, and he's going to run and he's going to fake throw a couple times when you're just running, bud. You're just running.
Yep.
Debo had 8 reception, 89 yards. Ayuk had 3 for 68 with that one catch for 51 that everybody says should have been interception, should have been interception. Maybe it should have been, but if what is that? What's it they say? If ifs were a fifth, we'd all be drunk. Or as Richard Sherman likes to call him, if Bayless. I don't like Skip Bayless.
I don't either.
Um, McCaffrey had 20 attempts for 90 yards, 2 touchdowns. And so I mean it was, and Kittle only had two receptions for 27 yards.
I was going to bring that up. That George Kittle, the thing you never see on a stat sheet is his leadership. You were talking about the things he was doing on the sideline, the things he was doing in the locker room. That up until what was it, midway through the third or maybe into the fourth, when he got that first catch, at some point I was like, "Is Kittle even playing today? Is he hurt? Like, pick up a white courtesy phone. Where did this guy go?" And then they're like, "Oh, and there's Kittle's first catch," and I swear it was in the fourth. And then he gets another one, and I was like, okay, they're going to get him involved again. And then that's all we heard. He was blocking. He was constantly,
Yes.
throwing arms around people like, hey, man, hey, do that. Hey, here's what we're doing. Hey, we still got this. And I was like, he's almost like the cheerleader, the coach, the just
The
pumping
mascot.
everybody up guy. Yeah, he was basically the mascot, getting everybody back into it.
And for you to have and I don't think there's a better blocking tight end. I could be homering. But when you have a
Kelsey's pretty
tight
good.
end at blocking, I didn't know Kelsey blocked. I know he
He's a little.
does he? Okay.
Oh
I don't
yeah.
know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't watch many Kansas City games. I was never much of an Undertaker fan either.
Mm,
So
there's a hot take.
um right. I I feel like when you got Kittle who will block, he will go out for a catch, he will you ask him to do it, he does it. I think this team is full of people that you ask us to do it, we'll do it. Another hot take on Kittle. Back in 2020 when we were in the Super Bowl against this Kansas City team, you see that shot of him standing on the sideline and he's holding his jersey. It's at the end of the game. He says, I'll be here again. We'll be here again. This will not break me. I'll get my revenge. What a lot of people fail to understand is Kittle, I think, was in his second year, maybe third year.
Yeah,
Boza was in his first year. Debo was in his second year, maybe. Warner was in his first or second year. Greenlaw was in his first or second year. We didn't even have Ayuk. There was no Purdy. Um, all
I was
these
about to say
guys
Brock
were.
Purdy. I think was a backup on what was he, Iowa? Where did he come from? He was Iowa State. I was close. He was probably like like a backup or like gathering up the
No, he
practice
was a starter.
talent
He was starter in college. Purdy was.
the whole way.
Yeah, yeah. He set
Okay,
records in Iowa, I believe.
Iowa State.
Um, yeah, Iowa State. Yeah, but but the problem, the thing with Purdy is they say he's too small. He's got small hands. His hands are the same size as Mahomes. I think, and I was watching. I watch a lot of sports shows. I watch Speak. I watch all of them really. Somebody said that this is the closest we'll ever get to see Mahomes versus Drew Brees, and that was a very
That's
good.
not a bad that's not a bad comparison. Drew is a they
That's a
try to compare everybody to Drew, but Drew is a one of one. But uh, Brock's probably the closest comparison I can think of.
yeah. So just I mean, it was. I'll be the first one to say I counted this out. I thought it was over, and um, you can call Brock a game manager. You can say it's the weapons around him. You can say whatever you want. This is one thing you can also add to that. He's a winner. He's a winner.
Well,
Kids too.
what's your other guy? Trey Lance, the guy that Dallas picked up.
Yeah.
If Brock Purdy is just those things that people call him, the things you just repeated there that I know you don't believe and I don't believe him either. If he is just a game manager and it's just the pieces around him, how come Trey Lance is out of town? Why
How
couldn't
come
he
Jimmy
should have been
G?
able to do the same thing? Or yeah,
I
Jimmy G
agree.
same way. If it was
Yeah.
just a system, just like Belichick, if the Patriots system is just what's making Tom Brady great, how come when Brady left they couldn't put it together anymore? Maybe it's more
And
about
then
it's a really great system, but when you have a player that makes the system even better, I think that's what we're looking at in San Francisco. He makes Shanahan's system even better.
and I agree. And it's because he's a um he believes in himself and his team.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this is really. I feel like Mahomes and them are the bad guys, and the 49ers are the good guys. Like, how many people really want the Chiefs? If you're not a Chiefs fan, you're against them. It's you. I don't know too many people is like, hey, I want Mahomes to win another one, unless you're a Chiefs fan. A lot of people hate Mahomes because he's there every year. And my perfect. When I go to a Braves game and we play the Phillies, I remember this. This was back when Bryce Harper was on the Nationals. Um, Bryce Harper came up to and everybody booed him. My wife turned and looked at me. He's like, "Why is everybody booing him?" And I said, "Because he's good. They don't boo the bad players. They
Nope.
don't. They don't. And see, people boo Mahomes. You either would cheer him or you boo him. There's never a mute.
There's no middle ground.
Exactly. So, and it's because he's great. He is. When it's all said and done, I'll say it right here and now. He will break all of Tom Brady's records. That he will. He'll either tie him in Super Bowl
Yeah,
wins or beat him.
yeah,
Mahomes is a great quarterback, and if he ever gets on a team that is a top three defense, they could go undefeated.
yeah, definitely so.
But
I
but
like how you
yeah,
try to. I like. I could make an argument that either one of these teams are heels. To make a wrestling reference, because we got about 5 minutes left. We'll talk more
got you.
about the Super Bowl and this kind of stuff on next week's show. But I actually think this is more of a heel versus heel. This is bad guy versus bad guy, in my opinion. Because if
I've
neither one
heard
of
that
these
as
teams
well.
are yours, there's a lot of hate going towards both those red squads. And in fact, I think they're Kansas City's wearing red. You guys are wearing the whites, last I
That's
heard.
right.
So
That's right. Good guys wear white.
sometimes, but like I said, we got about 4.5 minutes left, so I want to make sure to get all the plugs in. Like I said, next week we are definitely going to dig into talking, completely setting you up for everything you need to know about the Super Bowl. But um, want to plug, if you want to see Daniel on other shows other than this one, he co-hosts Inside the TP, a podcast on the Morning Five Network with Billy Lindahl, who started this with me. I had to break out the old shirt. I can't believe they didn't make you a shirt after I left, but we gotta get Billy to make you a shirt. But you
Right?
can catch them on all their network there, and then tell everybody about your YouTube channel.
Yeah. Daniel Snyder 8361. I've mentioned it before. Call of Duty. I'm gonna start getting some football, some Madden, and when MLB The Show comes out in March, I'm gonna start from day one streaming what I do on there, doing the Diamond Dynasty. Just come watch, kids, plug your ears. But if you just like enjoying, watch people shoot and these grown men talk about it, that's us.
Viewer discretion is advised, but it's probably
Yeah.
words you've heard before, kids. So tune in.
um, we got what, about 2 minutes?
About three, but yeah,
Okay. Let's talk about one of your shows. You do a wrestling and whatnot. Which after the
Mhm.
football season, I might hop on a few of those with you. I'm not really staying up to date on a lot of stuff, but I watch it every now and then. Right now, I'm in 2014, rewatching everything. Um, but I did watch the Royal Rumble this past Sunday,
it was
this
good.
past Saturday. Um, did you see that CM Punk hurt himself and that he's going to be out for a
He
minute?
he did, yeah, and
He
he's gonna miss
he looked
Mania.
he looked blew up in that match though. He looked
Yeah,
very blew up.
I think he
Um,
was pushing too hard, honestly.
yeah, yeah. I feel like he should have got in a couple matches before he jumped into that one. He should have got, even though he might have been doing practices and whatever. It ain't nothing like the live TV. He should have got in a few matches before getting straight into Rumble.
Yeah, because
Um,
his coming from AEW over back to WWE, he was off for a good chunk of time again. And that time off, like you said, there's no dispute as to being in the ring and training outside the ring are not the same thing.
and he is in his 50s. So
No, he's early 40s.
I thought he was
I
like
think he's
54. Is he?
no, no,
Nah,
he
because
might be
Cody Rhodes is
43,
41,
44.
42. No,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, like, are you sure? A GTS that I'm thinking
I'm,
I think he's like in his early 50s, dude,
no, my
or
guess is
late 40s.
I think he's 43 or 44. We're gonna look this up in about 2 minutes when this show goes off. But but yeah, I mean, even after these shows, we all know we're going to see you on a bunch of different stuff we do. We're going to figure out some of that stuff as well. Make sure that if you're watching us on social media right now, that you go to YouTube and subscribe, like, follow, comment, question, suggestion. If you think we're terrible, tell us. If you think we're great, tell us. If you want to buy us a steak dinner, I actually prefer fish, but that's fine. We'll work all that stuff out. But let's see, at impact underscore media underscore. And that's how you'll find everything but our hockey content on YouTube, and at BoardCheck99 is where you'll find that. But got about a minute left. So I'm going to
If
start the timer there. We
okay,
got about a
if
minute
anybody,
left. Anything you want to add?
I would say if anybody wants us to talk about anything
Yeah.
leading into the Super Bowl, Any questions you want to ask us, always put them in the comments below. We'll look at
Yep.
them and we'll write them down, and he'll bring up the question. I mean, I think that's always good to have feedback from the people.
No,
I love being
absolutely.
asked
And if we
questions.
don't have time to put it on the show, we'll make a special video and address it, especially for whoever asked.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. We should get some of that going. I like
Yeah,
that though.
we want to hear that. But I'm gonna go see if the 49er defense is still vacationing behind me here.
They are.
Um, they are. They're back there somewhere. I think that's Kittle on top of that rock right there. But for Daniel Snyder, I am Jeremy the Impact York. This has been the NFL playoff extravaganza, whatever you want to call it, as he says, for the A. And we'll see you guys next week.